It has been a rough start for Red Bull this year. The reigning world champion had the worst of it when two fuel pump issues. Red Bull has retired from the race more than once, which has made defending the trophy a tough task for Verstappen. He's far behind Ferrari and Mercedes and is visibly very frustrated with 46 points behind Leclerc. But in Imola, a new updated RB18 would take the race. The front end plate has been modified to help with aerodynamics and to lessen the weight. RB18 is the heaviest car on the grid and Red Bull changed that and they managed to lose 8 kgs from 795 kgs. This worked wonders. Watch till the end to know how. Emilia Romagna was a very interesting one to say the least. The nail-biting battles for the position and the circuit had just recovered from the rain to accommodate Friday's qualifying session. The clouds were unpredictable and the drivers knew things could get messy in Imola with a mix of slicks and intermediates used in early Q1. 12 minutes into the race, Verstappen was lingering on P3 while Ferrari was far behind and Mercedes Hamilton on P7, tailing Sergio Perez. Lance Stroll set the first benchmark going to the fastest on the track. The match was steady until Williams' Alex Albon had to stop with his right rear brake catching fire and his car just leaving debris on the circuit. This would be the second time this season that Alex would start from the back of the grid. Then the Ferrari sprung back into action with Leclerc setting the best of the time with Verstappen caught between two Ferraris with half a second behind and a tenth of a second ahead. With the drivers pushing hard, the match ends with Hamilton and Russell struggling to not be in the bottom 5 and Russell makes a sudden move getting to the 12th fastest mark, leaving Hamilton at 15th. Haas took P7 with Kevin Magnussen while Alpine's Alonso took P9 with Norris in between. Ricciardo stood on 6th with his McLaren. Hamilton hung by a thread with AlphaTauri Tsunoda 0.004 seconds on the 16th position. With Hamilton struggling again with the 13th position and Russell on the 11th, Verstappen is the fastest on the circuit with Carlos Sainz right behind him, followed by Norris and then Perez. Surprisingly, Leclerc is on the 5th mark with Alonso tailing him, but Carlos unfortunately hits the left-hander after his Ferrari takes a 360-degree spin, which then earns him a red flag. The rain threatens the driver as the audience starts to get their raincoats on admitting their driver's fate, with Mercedes not qualifying for Q3, but on the bright side, Alpine's Alonso gave his team a solid P6 with Kevin with 0.003 seconds. Vettel had a very good start, but he ended up in P8 with Bottas making it into the top 10, just behind Ricciardo. In Q2, we saw Russell, Schumacher, Hamilton, Zhou, and Stroll knocked out. Q3. The final session was a bit tricky. The rain had stopped, but the circuit was still damp and Magnussen with 9 minutes on the clock took his Haas to the gravel, but saved it from collision and made it back to the race, which earned him a red flag, but he managed it. 5 minutes on the clock and Leclerc is the fastest on the track with Verstappen about 0.020 seconds behind him, while on turn 16 Valtteri Bottas crashed, leading him to get a red flag, with Max being the fastest on the circuit and Leclerc right behind. Haas's Magnussen took a P4 and Alpine's Alonso made it 5th. This crash led to Bottas 8th with his Alfa Romeo and Perez 7th for Red Bull. At the bottom was Sainz after his Q2 crash and Vettel was in 9th position. F1 Sprint. 21 laps to lead and it is the first sprint race of 2022. Right off the bat, Leclerc as expected leads the circuit with ease while Verstappen tails him with utter dedication. Zhou for Alfa Romeo making a slight mistake that cost him the whole race by the end of the first lap and safety car had to come out. The Carlos Sainz back at P8 and lap 7 easily overtakes Alonso, taking P7 easily, and similarly Sergio Perez also is very capable of overtaking Magnussen, slowly reaching P3. Red Bull is in shape today, Ferrari still leading with Sainz gaining climbing P5. The race saw a huge turnover when Verstappen approached a bouncing Ferrari and easily overtook Ferrari. Verstappen wins the sprint with Leclerc finishing P2 and Checo Perez right behind him. Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. The match was exhilarating with the results from the sprint race. All eyes were on Red Bull and Ferrari with Verstappen and Sainz having a very good start with Leclerc a little slow in the beginning. Carlos Sainz overtook him easily. Verstappen is on the lead and around the first corner and Daniel Ricciardo hits Carlos Sainz, pushing him out of the circuit into the gravel. Carlos Sainz is left stranded, Mercedes' Hamilton is on his way to overtaking Alonso, and we can see that Mercedes is having a bit of an issue struggling to overtake. Alonso pits on lap 7 holding a P19 with Sainz out of the race. He is far behind everyone. Verstappen is leading with his teammate Perez right behind him, followed by Lando Norris. and Leclerc on P4. Hamilton held P11 while his teammate was 6th behind Magnussen and ahead of Bottas. Alonso, gauging the damage, is still pitted while every other driver is on their 8th lap, while Leclerc takes over the 3rd position from Lando Norris, pushing him to the 4th. The race already had a good driver off the tracks and it would make the game easy. Russell took his chance at P5 battling Magnussen and he easily snatched away the position, but he misses a bit in the chicane, giving Magnussen an advantage, and that mistake makes Russell lose his position to the Haas driver. Valtteri Bottas is right behind them, waiting for them to let it slip to sneak in. Quite the battle there, and in the George Russell makes a sly move, making him win the battle for the 5th. Magnussen felt the heat again in yet another battle against Bottas, holding his 6th position along a tricky track. We all know that Magnussen could get the brakes right, but it seems like Bottas beat him to it in lap 14, lap 19, and Ferrari, Sainz, and Alpine's Alonso are out with Red Bull Sergio Perez pitting. We all know that Magnussen could get the brakes right, but it seems like Bottas beat him to it in lap 14, lap 19, and Ferrari, Sainz, and Alpine's Alonso are out with Red Bull Sergio Perez pitting. Soon, both the leader and the runner-up also made a pit stop on lap 20, with Lando Norris also taking his time. That was when Leclerc made his way through to P2, and it seems like the pit stop was a wrong move for the time being. Leclerc, taking the advantage, got ahead, but Perez is a tough pill to swallow, immediately taking a spot back and overtaking the lone Ferrari on the circuit. Meanwhile, Esteban Ocon received a 5-second penalty for an unsafe pit release as he nearly hit Hamilton's Mercedes with his Alpine. Magnussen, again losing his grip on the race, was overtaken by Tsunoda, plunging down to P9 with Bottas on P6 and Vettel on P7 in lap 48. Vettel is going to have a tough time with Tsunoda gaining on him on lap 53, but can he beat him? Well, he certainly has the pace to chase the Aston Martin, but Leclerc seems to have gotten the Ferrari team on the edge of their seat, potentially getting out of the race with his Ferrari going into the barrier. He did regain, but he could have sustained damage on his left wing. Lap 54 starts with Leclerc pitting to drop to P8 with Vettel and Tsunoda with their battle for the lead, and Tsunoda does it. Lap 56 was when Leclerc got back on the track with Magnussen behind him, and he easily overtook Haas without breaking a sweat, staying on P8. At this point, Leclerc has to win, and he is for the most part bullying Vettel and taking P7 away from him with his Ferrari in lap 59. Lap 62 and Verstappen is still leading with 14 seconds, and Leclerc is slowly gaining on him, and he just overtook Tsunoda, gaining a P6, but he's a little too late with Verstappen winning the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix and getting a point extra for the fastest lap with his teammate right behind him. A very easy win for the defending champion this one. With Red Bull taking the 1st and the 2nd position, McLaren's Lando Norris held P3, and a great race altogether with George Russell in 4th, followed by Valtteri Bottas, then Ferrari's Charles Leclerc. This one marked the first race with the top 10 taken by 8 different teams, and we certainly never thought that we would ever have to see Mercedes, Haas, and Alfa battle for the top 10. This race was the best one yet, and I'm sure you loved it too. Comment down below to start a conversation with the F1 community. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more and hit that notification bell too. Take care, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next one.